All right, today we're going to dive into something really fascinating. We're cracking open a deep chapter from the Avatamsaka Sutra, but we're going to look at it through a totally modern lens. So forget about dusty old scrolls for a minute and think more like sophisticated software. We're talking about a complete system upgrade for your mind, taking this ancient wisdom and reimagining it as a cutting-edge operating system. So yeah, let's get this upgrade started. Think about how you approach self-improvement. Most of us, right, we're constantly trying to install new apps. A new meditation technique here, a new productivity skill there. Maybe we read a book to get more knowledge. But what if the operating system underneath all of it is buggy, slow, and just full of junk code? This ancient text poses a pretty radical question. What if you just stopped adding apps for a while and instead focused on purifying the entire system? And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got what most of us do. We accumulate skills. It's exactly like adding shiny new apps to a phone that's constantly crashing. But on the right, you see the approach from the sutra, a total system purification. And this isn't about adding more stuff, no. It's about rebuilding the entire foundation to create a clean, stable, and, get this, universally compatible mental OS.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to explore what this ultimate system upgrade really is. Then we'll break down the core modules of this so-called Purity OS. After that, we'll get into some of the really cool advanced features like power and security. And then we'll wrap it all up with a kind of personal user manual that you can actually apply.
Okay, let's jump in with the big picture, the ultimate system upgrade. And this is not just about becoming a slightly better version of yourself. The text is describing something way bigger, a process of transforming from just an individual practitioner into a kind of universal standard, almost like a blueprint for a fully purified consciousness. So here's the core of the problem, right? It's not that we lack skills. We can learn to meditate, we can learn to be kind, we can practice self-discipline. But if our underlying system is still running on that old, buggy code of I, me, and mine, then every new skill is just a temporary patch. The core pollution, that ego and attachment, it's still there, gunking up the works and slowing everything down. And the solution it proposes is, well, it's pretty radical. It's not about patching things up. It's about a full reinstall, a complete system purification that literally rebuilds our mental and behavioral foundation from scratch. We're talking about rewriting the very source code that runs our thoughts, our actions, and our motivations. Okay, so how is this new OS built? What does it actually look like under the hood? This next section breaks down the Purity OS into its core modules. And what's so cool is that these are basically the 6 perfections, these ancient virtues reimagined as the fundamental architecture of a purified mind. Man, I love this slide because look how perfectly these ancient ideas map to a modern OS. Giving isn't just charity, it becomes a deep personalized output module. Action happens, but there's no actor taking credit. Precepts, or ethics, aren't just rules you follow. They become the system's core stability protocol. Patience turns into the ultimate anti-interference hardware. Diligence isn't about forcing yourself with willpower. It's an infinite drive that runs automatically because you get the big picture. Meditation creates a stable operating environment, no matter what's going on. And wisdom? Well, that's the core CPU, the master processor that actually understands how reality gets generated in the first place. Let's just zoom in on giving for a sec. The sutra talks about something called the 3 wheels of purity. What that means is seeing that the giver, the person receiving, and the gift itself, they're all empty of a separate solid self. So it reframes giving not as, I am giving something to you, but as just letting a natural flow happen through you. The action happens, but that ego, the little I who always wants the credit, it just dissolves. And what about patience? This one is a total game changer. Normally, we think of patience as, gritting our teeth and just enduring something awful. But the Purity OS completely re-engineers this. True patience is realizing that the source of our suffering isn't the thing that's happening outside. It's the internal story of, I am being wronged. When you truly realize there's no solid separate self to be attacked, the whole idea of needing to endure just falls apart. It's like the system doesn't even have an input jack for harm anymore. All right, so we've got the core modules installed. Now let's get into the advanced features. This is where the Purity OS gets really, really powerful. We're talking about its power source and its security systems. This idea is just incredible. Instead of trying to suppress or get rid of emotions, this system does a kind of
emotional re-engineering. It takes these raw emotions, which are usually system liabilities that cause crashes and bugs, right? And it actually upgrades them into functional, high-efficiency power sources.
So how does it do that? Well, the four immeasurables get reframed as the OS power supply. Kindness and compassion. They stop being just nice feelings and become the actual engine that drives universal connection. Joy isn't something you have to get from the outside. It becomes the system's own internal self-sustaining fuel source. And equanimity? That acts like the ultimate gyroscope, the balancing system that keeps the OS from getting yanked around by what you like and dislike.
And of course, every good OS needs a top-tier security suite. The Purity OS has one, but it's not looking for external viruses. It's this incredibly sophisticated internal firewall that's designed to hunt down and eliminate the most subtle system bugs, those little hidden errors in our own thinking and motivation. And here is the part that is just absolutely mind-bending. The security module flags the biggest system bug, and it's not malice, it's not evil, it's the wrong kind of good. What on earth does that mean? It means being attached to your own virtue, thinking, wow, I'm so spiritual, or look at what a good person I am. That is flagged as a major bug, a super subtle form of ego that corrupts the whole system. Even being attached to your good deeds is seen as a demonic obstacle that has to be purged. Finally, this whole process ends in what the source beautifully describes as a full deployment. See, enlightenment isn't some sudden flash, it's a methodical rollout. There's even a final test environment, like a staging server in the Tusita heaven, where all the systems get checked one last time before the final push to go live as a fully operational, enlightened being in the world. How cool is that? Okay, so this all sounds very grand and very cosmic, but how do we actually start installing this upgrade? What does this mean for us? Well, that brings us to our final section, your personal user manual, with some actual actionable guidelines for your own system. And here it is. This is the most important principle in the whole manual. The goal is not to perfect your external actions. You don't have to become the world's most perfect giver or the most perfect meditator. The goal is to purify the internal process. It's a massive shift from focusing on what you're doing to how you're doing it, always moving towards a state of pure action, without that sticky, messy attachment of, I am the one doing this. So let's break this down into actual practice. Here are 8 things to think about. Reframe how you give. Work on reducing your attachment to your identity. Build that anti-interference ability by remembering it's your perception, not the event, that causes distress. Optimize your actions so they come from deep understanding, not just emotional whims. Train your brain to see everything as a fluid process. Make sure your wisdom and your actions grow together, in balance. And learn to spot those hidden errors, especially the things that feel right but are secretly just feeding your ego. And most importantly, always keep your core motivation online. Your why is the power source for the entire system. And that leaves us with this, the ultimate self-check. The one diagnostic question you can run at any moment of any day. Whatever you're doing, thinking, or about to say, just pause and ask, is this action strengthening my sense of a separate, solid self, or is it helping to dissolve it? The answer to that question, well, that's the whole path right there.